Text 36. Iti uktva roshatamra aksha vayasyan rishi balaka kushiki apaha upasbrishya vak vajram visasarja ha ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjadha ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho
vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa
upasprishya
vajrajam visasarjaha
ityuktva roshatam raksho vayasyan rishi balakaha koshikyapa upasprishya vagvajram visasarjaha
Ityuktva roshatam raksho
Ityuktva roshatam raksho
vayasyan rishibalaka
Vayasyan Rishibalakaha
Koshikyapa upaprishya
Kushikyapa Upasprishya
Bhagavadram Visasargajaha
Bhagavajram Visasarjaha Iti thus Uktva saying Roshatamra Aksha with red hot eyes due to being angry. Vayasyan unto the playmates. Rishi Balakaha, the son of a rishi. Koshiki, the river Koshika. Apaha, water. Upasprishya, by touching. Vak, words. Vajram, thunderbolt. Visasarja, through. In the past. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The son of the rishi, his eyes red hot with anger, touched the water of the river Koshika while speaking to his playmates and discharged the following thunderbolt of words. Purport. The circumstances under which Maharaj Parikshit was cursed were simply childish. As it appears from this verse, Shringi was showing his impudency among his playmates, who were innocent. Any sane man would have prevented him from doing such great harm to all human society. By killing a king like Maharaj Parikshit, just to make a show of acquired Brahminical power, the inexperienced son of a Brahmana committed a great mistake. Maharaj, would you like to speak anything on this? So the translation, the son of the rishi, his eyes red hot with anger, touched the water of the river Koshika while speaking to his playmates and discharged the falling thunderbolt of words. So this is the beginning of the Kali Yuga. So by this act of the inexperienced son of a Brahmana, Kali Yuga is allowed to enter the world. So we heard earlier that due to the good government of Maharaj Parikshit, this inexperienced son of a Brahmana was actually very powerful. So it's only by Maharaj Parikshit's good governing that this inexperienced boy has this power. And now he's taking advantage of it and using it unjustly against Maharaj Parikshit. So this is the beginning of when the Brahmanas start to actually misuse their power against the other classes in society. So Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagishaha. He explains that I made these, all over the universe, these 4 divisions of society and spiritual life are there. And so it's the natural order of living beings in the universe, and it comes from Krishna. And when it's in its proper form, it's working perfectly. Just like a body, it has the legs division, the belly, the arms, and the head. And so the Brahmanas are supposed to be like the head of the society. And they are supposed to be fully focused on the goal of life and focused on the spiritual side of life, so they can actually guide people appropriately. And the Kshatriyas are supposed to rule and govern land, and they're powerful, they're able to fight and these kind of things. And the Vaishyas, they are working under the protection of the Kshatriyas, who are guided by the Brahmanas, and the Vaishyas are doing their work they're protecting the cows and doing mercantile things. And then there's the Shudras, who are serving those 4 higher classes, and they're just doing like artisan type of work. But because the one at the top, the head, is focusing on the spiritual goal of life and serving Krishna, then the whole system's perfect to work each person up to attaining the goal of life. All these works are ultimately going upwards towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the proper system of Varnashram Dharma. But we see in today's day and age, like what we probably learned from textbooks in school, is this idea of a caste system, which is this perverted, mundane idea of some separation of castes and divisions of people in India, where one person thinks, okay, because my family line comes from some so-called Brahmana family line, and I was born in that family, then I'm qualified to be a Brahmana. But actually that doesn't make very much sense, because it's due to guna and karma, which means the qualities and the work. So just like if someone their father is a medical practitioner, that person can't just say, okay, my father was a doctor, so now I will do these open heart surgeries and things. It won't be accepted. It would be a disaster. But if they become qualified through the proper practice, the work, and having the qualities, the proper qualifications of a medical practitioner, then they can do those operations. What we see here, in the age of Kali, this is the beginning of it here, this idea of the higher, just based on the caste taking advantage of the other caste. So Shringi here is using his power unjustly to attack Maharaj Parikshit, and due to this mistake, the whole age of Kali begins. So he was thinking that because of his position, he could actually criticize the king. But, well, one, we see he's not actually in a proper position to criticize the king. He was the inexperienced son of a Brahmana. And this whole idea of criticism is actually very dangerous in spiritual life. That's 2 things I was hearing about this chapter recently, was this idea of making mistakes, and then also this thing of criticism. So Srila Prabhupada explains that one of the qualities of a conditioned soul, they have 4 imperfections, and that is to cheat others, to commit mistakes, imperfect senses, and the other one is become illusioned. So Maharaj Parikshit, he's not a conditioned soul. This is all happening by the will of the Lord, just like a puppet on the strings, and Krishna is the puppet master. But we can still learn from this story, this importance of being very attentive, because we see from this, it was a small mistake. When Maharaj Parikshit entered the hermitage of the Brahmana, he put the dead snake on Shamika, on Shamika Rishi. And we see in this chapter that it actually was not so big of an offense. Shamika Rishi when he gets up from his trance, he just throws the snake off. If it was a living snake, it would be a big offense. But he just put this dead snake on there, and it wasn't the biggest offense, but from this small mistake, Maharaj Parikshit becomes cursed to die in 7 days. And also this whole age of Kali begins to enter through this defect in or as Prabhupada says, like this hole in the son of the Brahmana. The age of Kali can now enter. So it's very important that we're attentive in all the services that we do in devotional service, or not just all of the time, anywhere, in any place. It's very important that we're attentive, and because just a little inattention can cause such a big problem. I heard this example. There was someone working on something in a temple and standing on a ladder, and someone was supposed to hold the ladder for them. And then somehow or other, just a split second, the person holding it was inattentive, and the one on the top fell and broke their leg. And then the rest of their life, they have to deal with this suffering from the leg being broken. So that's one example of how just like a small fraction of inattention can cause such a serious problem. Yes, Maharaj?
Someone was asking, why is it sometimes even Krishna is cursed, even God is cursed, and then the curse actually takes place, such as Lord Krishna or Vishnu being cursed to become a stone, so he became Shalagam Shila, and then cursed that his whole dynasty would be destroyed by a fratricidal battle. Well, why does this happen? Because if the curse is desirable, if it suits the Lord, then he accepts it. Otherwise, it's not possible for anyone to curse. You can try cursing, but you can't curse. There's a saying, proverb, that the vulture curses the cow to die, because the vulture likes to eat the cow. That doesn't mean the cow has to die just because he's cursed by a vulture. Certainly, God doesn't have to be influenced by someone's curse if he doesn't want to. But these are part of his pastimes. And if someone curses him, such as Gandhari, she cursed Krishna that his whole dynasty would be destroyed. Krishna accepted that as a fitting finale for his dynasty to leave. He wanted them to leave because they were becoming too powerful, and there was no way to stop them from getting carried away. And he wanted them to come back to the spiritual world. So therefore he accepted that curse. And just like Prahlad, the sister of Hiranyakashipu, she had received a boon that she could sit in fire and not be burned. So she told Hiranyakashipu about this because he was having difficulty killing his son. She said, no problem, I can just sit with him in the fire and he'll get burned and I'll be fine. So they did that. She took Prahlad and they entered the fire. But she got burned and Prahlad wasn't harmed. Why is that? Because curses against the Lord, against the devotee of the Lord, he was so pure it couldn't take any effect. But she got burned. So if Krishna could arrange for Parikshit Maharaj or for Prahlad, then he could have also arranged for Parikshit to have been saved from this curse. Even he had his own power enough to counteract it. But he accepted it as the will of the Lord, and the Lord accepted it because this will be a great opportunity for Parikshit Maharaj to do service, a very valuable service. Then the question may come up, why do bad things happen to good people? Parikshit's a good person. Why do bad things happen to him? There's nothing actually bad that happens to a good person. It may seem bad to some people because they cannot understand how the Lord is using his devotee in a positive way. May seem bad, but actually it's good. The devotee is happy to render any service he can render, and like Srimati Radharani, greatest devotee, says, if I could please the Lord by giving up my life, or giving up my body, I would be happy to do that hundreds of times. That's how a devotee thinks. Whatever I can do to please the Lord, to do some service, I'll be happy to accept that. So, nothing bad happens to a good person because the Lord has a greater plan in mind. And no one can curse God or God's devotees unless it's approved by the Lord. And if he approves it, it means there's a bright side to it. And that will become clear in due course of time.
Are there any comments or questions? So this was all arranged by the will of the Lord. Ordinarily it seems, or externally, it seems very strange that this whole circumstance would happen where Maharaj Parikshit, who is a pure devotee of the Lord, is in this circumstance where he is thirsty and becomes angry he directs his anger towards this sage. It seems very odd because he's a pure devotee. Like we saw before, the king's anger and envy directed toward the Brahmana sage were unprecedented, being that circumstances had made him hungry and thirsty. So that seems very strange. But like Maharaj was saying, it's under the will of the Lord. So it's not anything, any material thing going on, but Krishna is arranging it in order for the Bhagavatam to be spoken. And yes, Magadari Prabhu?
So I had a question. When a devotee wants to do something which is displeasing to the Lord, is that because he deserves that by his karma?
When a devotee wants to do something that's displeasing to the Lord, is that because he deserves it by his karma?
Devotee doesn't want to do anything that gives displeasure to the Lord. And as far as his karma goes, his karma is also approved by the Lord. As you could say, it's in the case of an ordinary person, he's under the direction of Maya. Maya, or Durga Devi, is in charge of making sure that the materialists get what they're supposed to get. And also Yamaraj, that he's in charge of punishments, so they get what they're supposed to get. And the inclination will be for someone who's performed sinful activities that he will be again inclined towards more sinful activities, and he has to get punished to get purified from that past sinful activities. And because he's still in the mode of ignorance and passion, he'll be associating with persons that are inimical to the Lord. So that was the desire of the living entity. No one's forced to act in a sinful way against his will, because this was an argument that Duryodhana was giving in the Garga Samhita. There's a pastime where, just briefly, the Kauravas were about to engage in a war, a battle with the Yadavas, the Yadu dynasty, means the Dwarka, Krishna's family members. And they were getting ready to fight, and Krishna came out and asked them, the Kauravas, not to fight. So they agreed on the basis of Krishna's asking, and they offered prayers to Lord Krishna. And Duryodhana, he offered prayers. The best he could do was that he said, I know what religion principles are, but I don't follow them. He says, but there's no harm to me, there's no fault on my part, I'm forced to do so by the Creator. So he didn't want to take responsibility for his misdeeds, but he also said, I know what the religious principles are, but I just don't follow them. So his not following, his choosing not to follow him, is the cause of his sinful activities. If he knows what religious principles are, then he should follow them. And if he doesn't know, then he should try to find out. So everyone's responsible for their own action. The Lord is not, that would mean that destiny overcomes a living entity for no reason. That's not the case. If something harmful happens to a person, it's meant for him. He's supposed to, that's what he deserves. And that will be displeasing to the Lord, but it's his choice. It's like wherever anyone goes against the laws of the state, it's displeasing to the governor, to the police department, to the people in general. Everyone's disturbed by it. And sometimes they blame God. But actually, he's not to blame. Everyone has free will, and he never interferes with free will. So that's the answer. Not by his karma alone. Because even though one's karma is to suffer or enjoy, he may be more inclined, because of his karma, to behave in a sinful way, but he doesn't have to. And there's examples of persons who, although they were coming from a very difficult circumstance, raised in a difficult circumstance, taught improperly, but somehow by good association or some pious activity they had performed in the past, like Yata Sukriti, or some special mercy of the Lord, they change. It's like the hunter. He was hunting, half killing the animals, and Narad Muni happened to come, and his whole direction in life changed by a few moments association with Narad Muni. So everyone has a chance. He may hear the holy name. He may accidentally get some prasadam sometime. He may give some donation to a person that he thinks is just a poor person. It turns out that person is a saintly person. There's so many opportunities where it happens. And the Lord will arrange. If one doesn't want to do a bad thing, he wants to do the right thing, then Krishna will fulfill that. He'll save that devotee or that person from misbehaving.
Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Magadari.
So the devotee always wants to behave in a way which pleases Krishna, but like, why is it that, us on the neophyte platform, we're not able to come up to the standard?
Well, there can also be the idea of somebody's past conditioning. Like we know when someone takes the devotional service and they are initiated, it's like the fan is unplugged of their karmic reactions. From so many lives, we've piled on all these sinful reactions and we're just reaping the results of those, or pious reactions. But when someone's initiated by the spiritual master, it's like that fan is unplugged, and so it starts to slow down. But there still may be some reactions and things there. But in a similar theme, I heard in one of Prabhupada's books, he was speaking on, due to one's past conditioning, they may make some sort of mistakes still. And he gives this pretty funny example of a thief who went somewhere with people who, they were traveling somewhere. So they stayed at like an inn or something. And so the thief, they were going to a holy place. So they were staying at this inn or whatever, and the thief was thinking it's a good opportunity to steal, but I'm going to a holy place, so I don't want to do it anymore. But still, that conditioning was there. So he would take the bags of the people and put them in some other place, but then he would think, oh, wait, no, what am I doing? I don't want to steal. And so by the time the morning came, everyone's bag or luggage was in a different place. And then he came to all the people and he said, listen, I'm very sorry. I've been a thief my whole life, but I didn't want to steal anything from you all because we're going to this holy place, but your bags are all misplaced now and in different places. So because that conditioning was still there, he was still acting on that, but at least he was thinking better this time. So the point of it was that because of the conditioning, one may still make some sort of mistakes. But that also gets cleared up by devotional service when it becomes purified. It's like the example of the fan. Those reactions and things are slowing down. Yes, Maternath Prabhu?
Due to that devotee's conditioning or there's some kind of strange temptation to act against, like religious principles in some way. Does Lord Krishna hold that against the devotee if he continues to strive to do better?
Well, we also need to do our part on our side to prevent against making mistakes and offenses and things. Like in one specific regard, like if someone offends a devotee, if they criticize some devotee, thinking, okay, I'm in the position where I can look at this person and point out this fault or something, that's actually a very dangerous position that opens the door to messing up our whole spiritual life. But if someone thinks that and then they criticize this devotee and make some offense, that devotee might just forget about it and say, oh, no, whatever. They just forget about it. But Krishna doesn't forget about it. So until we go and apologize and ask forgiveness from that devotee. So that's one instance where it's not like it just goes away. We should actually ask forgiveness from a devotee if we make some offense. As far as other mistakes and things, like Maharaj was saying recently in a class, it's not, if there's some difficulty, we don't just think, okay, we don't just do nothing about it. So someone would ask us if we explain this problem, they would say, well, what is your plan to make sure it doesn't keep happening? So we know that God helps those who help themselves. So we can make some sort of plan also in devotional service to get rid of some difficulty or mistake or offense or thing that's in the way of devotional service, because that's one of the main things, is accepting things that are favorable and rejecting things that are unfavorable. So it's not that we just close our eyes and think, okay, it'll be fine, but we make some sort of plan through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and then in that way we can advance and get over these stumbling blocks and things. Okay, is there anything else? Comment, question, realization? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.